Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out, the podcast, the greatest podcast in the universe. I am the board game guru and game master extraordinaire, Johananon.
I am the universe, Gary.
And we're inside you.
And I am the media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen. And I will say, up until about 3 hours ago, I had a different intro planned for this, and I was somewhat annoyed because, not annoyed, but we were recording tonight, and the GTA 6 trailer wasn't supposed to launch till tomorrow morning. However, due to the folks on the internet that like to leak things out, it was leaked early this evening. And so Rockstar went ahead and put the trailer out, which is unfortunate for them. I feel bad for them when these things get leaked before they're supposed to, and they don't get their big, global reveal like they wanted. On the other hand, for us as a silver lining, we get to talk about it on tonight's episode fresh right after it happens. So, I'll take the wins where we can get them.
As like an outside observer, right? We're all into the game world. It's so funny to me that I don't know if just no one cares to hack EA stuff. Like no one cares if a Call of Duty video comes out a day early. You never hear about that kind of news. No one cares.
If you want to see what the new Call of Duty
really good at look at the old one, right?
But
Rockstar's really good at publicizing these events and really making them turning it around and making these events good for them. I didn't know that the trailer was supposed to come out tomorrow. I didn't care. But then when I found out, oh no, all of a sudden it's out, well, that's big news. So I went to watch it. And I almost wonder if Rockstar, if they know what they're up to at this point. Maybe they got hacked the first time or the second time, but surely this is like the fourth or fifth time, right? At some point, this is just very funny or good marketing.
Yeah, it might be intentional. But also the game's about stealing, so they can't be that mad,
So, you said you didn't even know the trailer was dropping tomorrow, which I would say puts you in the minority because there was a tweet, I believe either last week or over the weekend that officially announced when the trailer would be out. And allegedly it's now the most liked tweet in gaming history. As for the most liked gaming tweet in history is just them announcing that the trailer would be dropping tomorrow morning and what time. It was supposed to be at 8 a.m. Central Time for us. So Gary, it would have been dropped at 7 for you. And
is it just
is that right?
Me?
Do I have my times right?
Am I being that guy? Let's look into the bots on that. Am I being that guy?
Oh, no. I mean,
That's
you don't even
crazy.
have to. Nobody's fighting you on that. But I remember that's actually what I was going to talk about though tonight is like the hype train for Rockstar games because of their elevated status is like it's off the rails compared to everyone else, and there are all these like parodies of the tweet and image they sent out with the trailer release date, and then it was even came out today like the trailer's going to run at this time and it's supposed to be 91 seconds long, and like all these things out before the trailer, how long it was, and people like hang on every single detail they can get for these Rockstar games, which I think is different from anyone else. I remember back when Red Dead Redemption 2, when they were getting, starting to ramp up the marketing campaign for that, and one day all they did was on Rockstar's social media channels, they changed their profile image from the normal orange Rockstar logo to make it red, and the internet broke that day. Like the gaming Twitter and Reddit and everything just exploded when that happened. And Rockstar is one of the only
knows exactly what they're doing when it comes to that. And so for like I said, these situations keep coming up. The first ones, it seemed unfortunate. I think they probably really did get hacked, but I think they made lemonade out of this. I think they figured out how to roll with the guerrilla marketing for GTA 6. It's just what they were given. So why not use it? I was looking back. I remember when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, it was wildly successful and had a huge opening. And I was looking back for the numbers, and I found them $800 million in its first day, $1 billion in its first 3 days.
At this point, it sits at the second highest selling video game of all time, right behind Minecraft, and that's per copy sold.
Insane. That's nuts. And it didn't go. Grand Theft Auto 5 did not have a lot of sales. And by that I mean it didn't go on sale often. Rockstar keeps their games full price. Grand Theft Auto 5 has just started to go on sale very recently, and now you can get it for about half off. And Minecraft you could probably get for very affordable comparatively. What I'm trying to say is I bet Rockstar is, per unit making a little bit more money than Minecraft is.
That's
Minecraft probably still shipped more units.
Yeah, I think base Minecraft was always cheaper too. So yeah, Grand Theft Auto 5 also had the benefit of, it was released on Xbox 360 and PS3, and then they re-released it on Xbox One and PS4, and then they released it on PC, and it had a rollout. And I know, for me, I'm pretty sure I bought that game 3 times. I think I've talked about that before. I've been transparent about it.
I definitely bought it twice.
I think I bought it
transparent
twice.
about.
Correct.
Yeah, because I got it for the 360 and then for the Series X, or whatever it became
The
after
one.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had it for 360, and then I had friends that wanted to play it on PS4, so I got it there. And then I think later in a Black Friday sale, it was cheap for Xbox One. I was like, I'll go ahead and buy it so I can play it on Xbox again too.
So I am. Let me go on the record again. I'm an old Grand Theft Auto fan. I used to play Grand Theft Auto 2 on my PlayStation. I loved it so much that I bought Grand Theft Auto 1 for my PlayStation and loved that. I liked the London version.
Good old top-down.
All the old top-down ones, man. And there's actually a mechanic missing from those games that the current games don't have. And I would love to see a return to that mechanic. It is the gangs mechanic. There were always 3 other gangs in the territory, and if you became friends with one, then another one would dislike you for it. And it was almost a rock, paper, scissors type of thing where if you wanted to max out one gang, well, for sure, another gang was going to hate you, but you could be on pretty neutral ground, be okay with the third gang. And it really changed the gameplay because it would make different sections of the map really hard to get to vehicles and hard to get to weapons and stores and stuff like that. And even though it was a top-down game, it was a very cool mechanic to have this gang-controlled territory and faction alliance points that you actually had a slider for. That's the kind of thing where, hear me out, guys, this might be a bit of a rant, but I really have a point here. I think that when Grand Theft Auto 6 releases, it is going to be a lot like the Starfield release, where people say, that's it? I don't think you're going to be able to go inside every building yet. I don't think it's no point in making a bigger and bigger map every time. I don't think environments will be destructible. I'm not sure that the AI is going to be anything more than what we've seen. They showed some pretty videos and some cool looking cars. But as far as where games are at now, I think they're going to have to do more than just make Grand Theft Auto 5 except in Florida. And to me, it greatly looked like Grand Theft Auto 5, except in Florida. I think that it's going to be a disappointing release.
I think that depends on who you are and what your expectations are, which, I mean, I guess is how it always is. Well, first off, I think just this kind of does help lead into reactions from the trailer itself. The trailer didn't really... We got to see it. That's basically the main thing. We didn't see gameplay. We saw,
minute 36 of story trailer, pretty much.
Yeah, story trailer and world building trailer.
Grand Theft Auto is known for using its same graphics in game as well as in their stories.
Yeah, they're probably the real graphics. Yeah,
it's for sure in engine.
Polished. Yes, and that's, I hate cinematic trailers. This is not really a cinematic trailer. It's sort of a gameplay trailer, but it's sort of a cinematic trailer. It's definitely gameplay graphics, though, so we get to see the product for real.
Right. Yeah. This is definitely what the game's going to look like. I just meant, we didn't get to see a third person character running around or doing anything, which is fine. But like we said, we got it confirmed it's in Vice City. We got to see it looks like there's two main protagonists, a male and a female, and it'll be the first time that a GTA game's had a female protagonist.
I also noticed that it was definitely set in modern day, but also maybe set in the 80s. I saw some like strips where there were all 80s cars and some 80s looking clubs and stuff, and I was wondering if that is
time jump.
Is it a time jump
Oh,
in
that'd
the
be cool.
story, or
I'd be interested
or
in
is
that.
it is it like a part of town? Is it like Vice Town or something like that, where it's like 80s cars and some 80s clubs? That way they have a nod to it. Because I definitely saw some 80s stuff, and like you said, people like to digest and pick stuff apart. I was all about picking this apart. Where Grand Theft Auto 5 took place in almost a very realistic Los Angeles for the most part. It looks like this is the Florida that you hear about in the news. This looks like Florida man's Florida. There are alligators jumping out of pools. There's a huge alligator running around in a grocery store terrifying people. There are people twerking on the top of cars, taking selfie videos. There's a guy like standing on a truck, driving it from the door. Like, I mean, there are insane Florida man type things going on here. A la Saints Row almost.
I was about to say
there
it
was,
almost looked like Saints Row. But, yeah.
yeah, there was a little bit
Got
that
a
was
little
kind
wild.
of over the top and a little fun.
But that's kind of
something to look
Florida,
forward
so
to.
I mean,
Yeah,
Florida's pretty crazy.
Seems like a kind of a cartoon Florida almost, which I think is a good direction for the game instead of the more realistic LA.
I agree with that. And it looked like social media is going to play a big part in whether it's the story or just in the game mechanics, the way it was showing what looked like almost TikTok videos, but in world and stuff like that.
That's
That'll be
weird.
interesting to see. I think
I
thing
wonder if
now
that's how
is-
you'll get your missions now. Will you see these TikTok videos of different things going on around town, and if
people
you go there, that's
FaceTime
the-
you or whatever it is.
Mhm.
It'd be cool.
Yeah, because
Find where
why
the
would it be a
video
phone
is
call,
shot
right?
or something. Reenact. I don't know. It could be fun.
The nice thing is that now we have a general idea of what it is and what it looks like, but now it's just going to open the floodgate for all the questions because I remember with GTA 5, when it initially released on 360 and PS3, when it came out on what was at that time the next gen consoles on Xbox One and PS4, they added first person mode and they added all these different things, and I'm like, okay, so are all of the things that eventually got added over time in GTA 5 going to be available from the get-go in GTA 6? Are we going to have first person and third person? Are we going to have a Grand Theft Auto Online that's a little bit more fleshed out from the beginning, more comparable to what Grand Theft Auto Online eventually became? Because when it first launched on 360 and PS3, it was pretty sparse. Like it was, it was
did
neat,
not
but there wasn't
work.
that much
It didn't
to
work
do.
for shit.
It didn't work the first 3 days, and then for 2 weeks, it was limping along badly.
The
That
bad
was a really bad launch.
the bad launch of GTA Online was completely made up for by the inevitable amazing levels that it reached later on. I mean, it got so good, like it's hard to fault shaky release.
Unfortunately, most of those levels were behind a paywall for months and months and months until the content would finally release. They really nickel and dimed the crap out of the GTA Online fans.
Well, and the campaign though was so good too that I feel like people were
Campaign,
forgiving
sure.
because they were still able to dump so much time into that.
I mean, Trevor's like the best character ever.
Yeah, it's just I guess that and then of course we got the 2025 release date at the end, so we know this
Yeah.
isn't even. I did think, I will admit, when they announced this trailer was dropping at the end of this year that we were going to see it, I thought that meant it was going to launch in 2024. So
be nice,
maybe
but
that's
yeah.
maybe that's naive.
Oh,
I don't know, but I guess I'm
thought
not
summer
that surprised to see
24
it be
for sure.
2025.
The fact that it's 25 was like a slap in the face, like an Elder Scrolls level slap in the face when they showed the splash that just said Elder Scrolls, and we were like, for what? Why would you do that? Yeah, this.
You mean the one that
and
was
like you
5
said,
years ago and the game's still not even on the horizon?
That's exactly the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, that was awful.
It was a slap in the face, and I'm glad they finally released a minute or whatever, a minute and a half of a slap in the face. I guess if they wouldn't have released it, somebody else would have, right? I'm going to play this game. Have you guys heard about the rumors that it might have an increased price?
I heard about the rumors, yeah.
Only through
Yeah,
you,
it's also-
but yeah.
Mostly, yeah.
I also
you
I,
said-
I saw it like last week on Reddit, and I didn't really read too much into it. I just saw it was a thing, and I didn't see a source, and was like, okay, I'll have to find a source on this. So today, when this game came out, or when the trailer for GTA 6 came out, I immediately was like, all right, what's this price thing I heard about? And so I guess there's an unfounded rumor that the game could be anywhere from $120 to $200 for GTA 6. What do you guys think about that?
I don't think it's going to happen. I think that the rumor, if it has any credibility, is referring to some deluxe edition with a bunch of extra content and season pass kind of stuff. I mean, we've seen games that have come out that have been between 150 and 200, yeah. But
Yeah, no doubt.
I think this game's going to drop at 70. 70 is the new price point. I don't see people break, because there was a lot of pushback on that to begin with. You know what I mean? There was a lot of pushback on the 70. So I don't think they're going to break from 70 for at least a few years as the base price. They will, however, offer these like substantial price increases to get in-game loot to capitalize on the people who
you're right. We've seen that.
This
with
is
Call of
their
Duty.
game, and they are willing to put out the money for it. You know,
Call of Duty does that same thing with like deluxe edition,
Exactly.
edition skins, and deluxe
lot of
edition
games
gun
do.
content. Yeah, and it's
They-
like nothing you need.
I think that we've now known for a couple weeks that they were going to drop the GTA 6 trailer in December, and so I think that allows a window for people to kind of release, clickbait or unfounded rumors in order to to get some traction. And GTA 6 is the game that's going to get it, because it's going to be one of the most anticipated games in pretty much since 2013 when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out. I think that the super high price range, what you said, at over $100 is definitely not going to happen unless it is a super special edition, comes with a statue and comes with whatever, all kinds of extra
comes with a set
swag.
of real rims that you can put on
I
your
could
car.
I could see them having a $200
Real
version
pink
of
teeth.
this game that is a lot more than just the base version. I agree with Jahan. I think the base version will be $69.99 because of exactly the reasons you said, Jahan. I'm right there with you. I think that there are still people adjusting to new release video games being $70.
I still hear people say, I'm not spending $70 on a game. Like, I still hear that. So, like, yeah, people still aren't over it.
If it's a new release game on like a PS5 or something like that, like I'm pretty open to it if it's truly next gen. When Tears of the Kingdom released on the Switch for $70, I thought that was kind of a racket for like essentially old hardware. And I mean, I get it's a Zelda game. So I guess like based on that, Rockstar could technically
one of the best
say, hey,
games of the year.
we're within our right to charge more for this because people will pay it. That being said,
wanna
I
be
think
that guy. I don't think you guys are going to eat the rumor. It is a completely unfounded rumor, but let me eat it up. Let me eat up the rumor and make a
Gary.
guess. I'll make a fresh prediction. I do think that this is such a weird and crazy rumor. It's such a bizarre rumor. It should have been for Call of Duty. It should have been for something coming out sooner, not for something coming out in 2 years. I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, I think the base edition is going to be, let's say, $90, right? It'll be $20 more. I'll eat this rumor. I think there's something to it. And I was driving home. I was thinking to myself how pissed off I would be. But then Grand Theft Auto is probably gonna be as good as 2 games. So maybe I would pay 2 games worth.
It's not like
price
I'm not
for
going to
it.
buy it. I mean, sure, but that's because, yeah, it's Grand Theft Auto.
And it's going to be a game and a multiplayer game, right? So it is 2 games in one. So I could see them finagling something. I'm
I
not
think-
totally like, I don't know, man. I'm seeing a world where this is possible.
I think your cynicism is completely founded. I think it's only a matter of time before you can apply for a Grand Theft Auto credit card that you can only use in real life, but it's a real credit card with a real credit score and your real money. Like, I feel like that's only a matter of time before they start doing stuff like that in games. And yeah, absolutely.
I'll say this about the price point is I've talked about this on the show before. I am guilty of paying extra this year in the year 2023 on not one, not two, but 3 different video games. I paid a premium price in order to play it anywhere from 5 to 7 days early.
Yeah.
I did this for Hogwarts Legacy, I did this for Diablo 4, and I did this for Starfield.
All three of us did it for Starfield.
And I have no regrets.
No regrets.
I don't either. I enjoyed having that early window. And if they do say GTA 6, I'm on the opposite side. I think it's going to launch at $70, at $69.99. If they launch a version that is $89.99 or maybe even $99.99, and you get some cool extra gear, some little side DLC thing, and you get to play the game anywhere from 5 to 7 days early, I will throw my money at them.
Maybe you get a little house or a little alligator with a fucking hat or something.
Yep.
Oh man, I can't wait to see the real world property values of GTA housing. Like, it's gonna start affecting the economy in real life. It's gonna be funny.
I will pay the premium if it gives me early access and I get to feel cool because I'm playing it earlier than the people that didn't want to shell out an extra $20.
We're doing a lot of speculating.
So I know I've been all over the place with what I'm saying in my reviews and what I think about Rockstar and all this. I know I've been all over the place, but without a doubt, I would buy the maybe not the $120 version, but the $90 version, like you said, the one that comes with some skins and gets you early access. Yeah, I would buy that. I would be that guy.
And in no way, I feel, are we advocating that it's okay for companies to do this? We're victims too. we just really want it. But yeah, I feel like we're doing a lot of speculating based on very little. But what do you want to see? Because what I want to see, the things that I'm wondering about, like, what's the campaign going to be like? Is there going to be multiple swapping characters? How early on into the release will GTA 6 Online be available? Will it be day one? Will it be a few months from day one, like it was with GTA 5? I'm sure the launch will be rocky, but I just want to know those kinds of things. And
those are great questions. When I started thinking about stuff like that, I thought again about the end of the trailer. It says 2025. It doesn't say first, second, third, fourth quarter at all.
Yeah.
And this is exactly the kind of thing that as a kid I would have followed the release all the way to the date, only for it to be pushed back and pushed back.
It's gonna be 2026.
So I'm not even. I don't even want to get more excited. You know what I mean? We have this little snippet. We know it's going to be in Florida Man, Florida. And until you guys put a game in front of me now, it's all speculation, right? It's all hearsay, and it's all cutscenes. So this is why I said earlier it's a slap in the face, because saying 2025 is a huge window, and then it'll probably get pushed back anyways if the history of video games has taught us anything.
I think. I do remember, you guys might remember, when GTA 5 was revealed. I don't remember what the first trailer for GTA 5 looked like, and I didn't look it up or anything now. But I do remember when it was closer to release, they had these longer form trailers with like a female narrator kind of explaining some of the mechanics of the game and really went in depth. I would imagine they'll probably do more things like that within the next year as we get closer to it releasing. As far as what I want from the game, this isn't actually a very big picture. It's more in the details and controls. Red Dead Redemption 2, when it came out, looked really good, and they had improved on some of the typical Rockstar jankiness and the controls and things, but it still was very much a Rockstar game. But I'm hoping that they have, in the however many years since that game launched, when did Red Dead 2 launch? Like, what, 2017? I don't remember what year it came out. They've had several more years to hopefully refine those controls a little bit more. And the driving controls of GTA games are obviously highly regarded, and I don't think there's much that they have to do there to perfect it. I'm sure they'll find ways to do so, but I'm just looking for the control of my character to be like a little bit more fluid and on point, and just things like
That's
that.
fair.
I'm hoping that some of just the general controls and details like that are a little bit more refined for a game that's coming out. Well, I was going to say 10 years after its predecessor, but it's not coming out till 2025. So like 12
So
years
I
after
know
its
exactly
predecessor.
what you mean. This is exactly what I'm saying about when Starfield came out, and it was just not impressive because there were things. It was just designed with old systems in mind. It was designed with old platforms. They did old stuff, and they did it well. They just didn't excel at it. So even if they have this awesome version of Florida with this really cool story, is it still the same driving mechanics? Is it still the same, like you said, janky character mechanics? Is it just the same game in a different place?
Yeah.
Those are good questions, and those are the things that came to my mind. What you can show me all the color and flashing and you want, but do we? Is it still gonna feel basically like GTA 3 movement? They haven't come that far. It's still kind of the same thing. It's they're known for that kind of movement.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that hurts Starfield so bad is it moves and it plays just like Fallout and those other games that Bethesda's known for. I think Rockstar needs to take a risk, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I don't know anything because I'm going to buy this stupid $90 game either way.
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely going to have to do something new, and they're going to have to improve some stuff because, like, just having better graphics isn't good enough. I've been seeing the new Unreal Engine demos, and, like, it's ridiculous. The graphics that we're about to start seeing are almost indiscernible from reality. So, like, you're going to have to do more than just that. And I have at least a level of faith in them doing that with their track record. So, that's, GTA 6. I look forward to it.
Before we transition to all the freshness of the week, I just want to follow up because we might know a little bit more on a fresh prediction that I made back in September this week.
Okay.
Because today's the 4th that we're recording, and so Thursday on the 7th, it's the Game Awards. And that they have officially said they'll be announcing the Baldur's Gate 3 Xbox release on that day. My prediction back in September was Baldur's Gate 3 will come to Game Pass on the same day that it eventually releases on Xbox consoles. I think that's a pretty bold prediction in hindsight. I know where my headspace was then, because I just thought that because Xbox or Microsoft really botched the release of Baldur's Gate 3 on their console by holding it back for the Series S console, they would make it up to the fans by shelling out however much money the developers wanted to have it on Game Pass. I still think that that's pretty bold. I don't know if they're going to do that, but I'll stand by my prediction. That being said, I do want to add on.
Going to be a right now prediction.
Yeah.
Well, that's you got ahead of me. That's exactly where I was going with this because they have announced more about like a physical release of the game too. But my prediction that kind of expands on that prediction, or is adjacent to that prediction, I should say, is I think at the Game Awards, when they announce it, they're going to say that Baldur's Gate 3 is available digitally on Xbox platforms right now, that it'll be a right now drop. And then they'll maybe have a date within the next, couple weeks before Christmas where there will be a physical edition shipped to stores for those that want to buy it physically. But I think that the digital release will happen the same night as the Game Awards, which, if my other prediction is correct, that means it'll be on Game Pass the same night as the Game Awards, which would be
That'd be nuts.
incredible.
That would crash Xbox's servers.
That's what I'm predicting. Is as soon as I was jumping on, and as soon as I said same day available, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I think during this presentation, they'll say, and for Game Pass users, Baldur's Gate 3 is available for download now. And I stand by it. It's certainly a bold prediction.
I would.
But why any secrecy if that's not the point?
I would go against both of your predictions. I would say that it's not coming to Game Pass because
they're losing money.
It was going to go to Game Pass. It was going to go. They had an offer from Larian Studio for a hilariously small amount of money to put Baldur's Gate 3 on Game Pass, and they turned it down because they didn't think it was going to be this good. And so I don't know that if that Larian Studios would be like, yeah, I guess we'll do it.
Their words were, they said it was a Stadia reboot type of game.
Oof.
And yeah, they couldn't have got it more wrong. But that's why I think that, you know, obviously it didn't come to Game Pass when it should have. They had to eat crow. Now it's been months. So the price to get it on Game Pass is going down. Every month it goes down a little bit more. And Microsoft can, you know, because they got their big wave of buyers, right? Everybody that bought Baldur's Gate bought it already. They bought it on PlayStation, they bought it on PC. So that should be flattening out. The buyers should be flattening finally. So then Microsoft can give you this huge chunk of money and is going to continue giving you that huge chunk of money as long as they keep Baldur's Gate 3 on there. So I think that Larian was like, no, we're not coming to Game Pass right now. Let us get our money. And then Microsoft called back and said, we're going to give you fat cash. You need to come to Game Pass in December. Yeah. And they said, okay, we can do that. We could wait it out to December. We'll be okay.
I think they're going to tell everyone Xbox to suck it. That's what I think.
Drew, didn't numbers come back about how much Microsoft spent on Game Pass this year? Did you see any numbers on how much they made?
Oh, there might have been back when all the leaks were happening or around the trial, but I don't remember what it was.
I just saw a headline that said they spent over $1 billion on games on Game Pass this past year.
That sounds high. That sounds like that seems not right.
Let me find that. You guys can carry on. I'll find my sources.
In the meantime, while Gary's doing some research on that, we can go ahead and shift into this week's freshness and start with fresh movies of the week, which I believe is only me.
Y'all have it, baby.
All right, I found it pretty quick. If we believe The Verge or True Achievements or Game Developer or Payments.com.
Game Developer and Verge are both credible for sure. Yeah.
Microsoft spends over $1 billion annually on third-party Game Pass titles.
Fair enough.
When I read that, are you telling me none of that's going to Larian?
I'm telling you, they already sent those checks out, dude. I don't think they have enough for Larian.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. We need to find out. I'll follow up for us to talk about it next time, how much Game Pass is making, because this may be like the streaming wars. You know, they may be operating in the red and pretending that this is super successful.
Like Netflix.
Well, they just recently, Microsoft was in the news because I don't know if they were asked or what happened. They don't announce their console sales anymore. You know, it used to be, this is how many Xboxes sold in this quarter and yada yada, and I think PlayStation still does that a bit because they've been in the lead, but Microsoft they came out and they said they don't release that anymore because they don't determine that as a measure. Their success is not based on how many consoles they sold, because there are so many different aspects that go into that now based on Game Pass and what they're doing in all the other realms of earning revenue for the Xbox brand, that just saying their console sales is not like a fair representation of their success or not, which I think is fair.
So, I'm not a great math guy, but I can do simple enough math to say that in September, they made $230 million, they being Xbox, from Game Pass. So if they're spending $2 billion and they're making $230 million a month, they're coming out in the green at the end. For now.
Here, I just found it. Okay, so this
as long as you don't factor, the billion doesn't factor into the cost of operation of Game Pass. But I don't want to get too into the weeds about it.
No, that's true. It looks like they're making money. Is the point? It looks like it.
I'd imagine they must be making something.
But they're, it's not. They're spending a lot. They're spending a whole hell of a lot more than I thought they were.
You gotta spend money to make money.
Man, tell them, Phil Spencer.
There you go. But yeah, not like I said, not to get too into the weeds, but yeah, I'll go ahead and make my fresh prediction that they are not bringing it to Game Pass, and then I can eat my crow later if I'm wrong.
Question. Okay, to specify on this, is your prediction it will never come to Game Pass?
My
or just
prediction
won't come?
is that it's not coming anytime soon. So definitely not this year. I'd be surprised if next year, and possibly never. But
So you're thinking like summer at earliest is your prediction? You're
summer
making a fresh
at
prediction?
earliest, yeah.
Okay.
At very
if it's on
earliest.
before summer, then you eat that prediction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, we had to,
I like that.
We had to give a little bit of a time frame so that we can tell
And
you
I
if you
will-
failed or not.
I will shave a 2x2 inch square somewhere on my body.
Type this up. Type this up, Drew.
All right, we'll get into our freshness now. I started transition earlier while we were still doing research, but this is it now. We're moving into our fresh
Sorry.
movies. Of
Fresh
the week.
movies.
And I'm gonna start off with kind of a surprise one for me, which is Godzilla -1. And I only say this is a surprise is because this wasn't even on my radar. I wasn't even gonna go see this. Like I actually wanted to go see Silent Night, which is the new John Woo Christmas action movie with Joel Kinnaman. But I couldn't find it showing anywhere near me. And then I started seeing all these really positive raving reviews for Godzilla -1. It was showing at my local theater and Silent Night was not. So I was like, well, maybe I'll do this just to see what it's like. Problem is, I'm not a big Godzilla guy. I've talked about this before because I talked about a couple weeks ago about the Monarch show on Apple and my thoughts on that. And just every time with Godzilla movies, I feel like this should be a sure bet for me, right? Like big monsters fighting, I'm cool with that. As long as they have that, I'll be good. And then somehow with Godzilla movies, I always leave feeling disappointed.
They keep on bringing in Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, Roland Emmerich's Matthew
The
Broderick
best Godzilla
Godzilla movie. I actually did
They keep
enjoy
trying
as
to
a
put
child.
plot in my monster movie. That's the problem. I don't want to watch people talking in my monster movie. I want to watch monsters fighting.
And let me be clear here. I am not a Godzilla scholar. Most of my experience with Godzilla has been the American-made movies, as far as the most recent Gareth Edwards one and the MonsterVerse that they've created. I've seen the Roland Emmerich one, as we mentioned, and I've seen like bits and pieces of old Godzilla movies. I am by no means a Godzilla historian.
There are 38 Godzilla films. And I'm also not a Godzilla historian, but I was doing some research today. I have seen some of the original. I mean, we're talking way back, 60s movies maybe. They're bad. Just straight up bad. I mean,
I
product
believe
of the
it.
time. Product of the time, sure. But also, like, they were always campy. They were always working with miniatures and silly costumes and stuff like that. They knew exactly what they were doing. I think what made it, probably at the time, if we'd have grown up when Godzilla was happening, it would have been new and fresh, and it would have been this cool thing. And then we would have grown to love it. We grew up with it. There would have been nostalgia. Instead, we grew up in this CG era where every Godzilla looks different and they just pretty much all make the same noise and they don't really have a story. No one really has a story, and there's just a bunch of Hollywood who's in the movie. I think we missed the train for Godzilla. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, now enters Godzilla -1. It's coming out on, we're approaching, I believe, the 70th anniversary of Godzilla, and so that's kind of what this film is supposed to be celebrating. And again, I didn't do any research. I was like, I'm just going to go see this. And I don't think it is spoiler to say, this is like a back to basics Godzilla movie kind of origin story with a pretty like moderate budget. 15 million's not that much considering it's a big CG kind of spectacle monster movie. The effects actually look pretty good in it considering how low the budget is of this movie, which again just begs the question of the MCU and what are y'all doing and spending money on when these movies just look like garbage and y'all are spending $300 million on them. I digress. Godzilla Minus One. It starts with, this takes place in 1945. We're in World War II, and in Japan, and a kamikaze pilot essentially abandons his duty and lands on this island, saying his plane's malfunctioning. And during his stay on this island, Godzilla attacks, and it's their first experience with Godzilla. And then cut to some time later, it does take the time to set up some of the human element and get to know some characters. But right when you think, oh, is this movie going to overstay its welcome and give me too much humans? It goes straight back into the Godzilla action and gives some of the best Godzilla kaiju action sequences that I've seen in one of these movies. There's a lot of them that take place on the water, which is really unique for Godzilla, like in the middle of the ocean. One in particular where they're in a small boat and Godzilla's chasing them in the water, swimming with his big spikes like coming out of the water, almost looking like a giant crocodile, but humongous, chasing them. And they're dropping giant mines at him and trying to get him. And it's really cool and really, really well done. He's really intimidating when he's in the water. And then, of course, there are scenes where he does come out on land and he's still a beefy Chungus with his big old fat legs and big body. And it's the, traditional Godzilla. But they somehow managed to find the right balance of having a pretty good human story. But the Godzilla set pieces are just excellent. And the plan they come up with to take down Godzilla at the end is interesting. And then seeing them try to execute it. That being said, like I said, this is a back to basics. This is not one of those movies that tries to trick you. We're like, oh, Godzilla is attacking. Oh, turns out he's really protecting us from this other monster. No, like Godzilla is the villain of this movie. He is attacking people and the people are trying to take Godzilla down. And I just really enjoyed this.
I did do a little research to confirm that Godzilla is exactly that. It's the first kaiju movie ever. It's also created by the guy who started like the Tokatsu style Japanese. So that's like all the Power Rangers and Power Man type stuff. All of that was started by the Godzilla guy. So it was definitely a thing, and it was, the first time that thing happened. So
that's why all those Sentai shows look like Godzilla movies. Yeah, makes sense.
Put yourself back in those shoes, and it really makes sense that when this wasn't a thing, this would really be some quality animation. This would be a lot of fun if you had never seen this before.
Yeah, I've seen the trailers for Godzilla Minus One. Yeah, it looks exactly exactly what you think of when you think Godzilla. This is it looks classic. I'm gonna go see this Saturday actually. My mom's a huge Godzilla fan, so I was like, I'll take you. Because Jenny does not want to watch this movie.
I really will love to hear the feedback and what y'all thought of it. I was very pleasantly surprised by this, had low expectations, and I was like, even if it's a good Godzilla movie, am I going to like it as not a big Godzilla fan? And I did. I thought it was really well done. And I saw it in a theater. I was lucky enough to see it with Dolby sound, and so the sound was incredible. It just looked and sounded great on the big screen. So if you can see it that way, I'd recommend it. I was very pleasantly surprised.
That Godzilla looks cool.
It looks really good. Yeah, Godzilla looks great. The city destruction looks great. All that stuff looks really good. And yeah, my mom is one of those people that grew up watching them, so she was a big fan from way back. And we've been watching Monarch because of it. So she'll watch.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little later. But yeah, she's a big kaiju fan, and I am too. And so I'm excited to check this out. I know it did well, ratings wise. It's got a 98 on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that, which is crazy. So yeah, I'm very excited for this one.
Well, and that's why, I'm going to say this, and I don't know how much weight it holds, because again, I haven't seen all 38 or however many Godzilla movies Gary said.
You don't have to. This is -1.
That being said, seeing this is easily the best Godzilla movie I've ever seen. But I feel like that's it's faint praise because I haven't seen.
From what I've seen from the
I've
critics,
seen very good.
That's not a hot take. Like, a lot of people are saying that this is like Godzilla distilled. So I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, we'll probably talk more Godzilla -1 next week once Jahan has seen it and we can expand on it. Moving on to a couple of other new release movies. I don't know when I became the streaming holiday movie guy because I usually skip all the holiday movies that come straight to streamers, but I've watched 2 over the past week.
Let it be known, 2023 was the year you became the holiday streaming movie guy.
I don't know why. I was looking at the list of stuff you were going to talk about to try to watch some stuff so that we could talk about it. Oh boy, Drew.
Oh yeah.
Let's get it.
I watched Family Switch. Gary, yep. Are you aware of Family Switch?
No.
Okay. Family Switch is on Netflix now, directed by none other than Mick G, and it is a body swap Christmas movie a la Freaky Friday, but the concept is it's an entire family that swaps. So it stars Ed Helms and Jennifer Garner as the mom and dad, and then Emma Myers and Brady Noon play the daughter and son. Emma Myers from Wednesday. If y'all remember Wednesday's friend Enid in the show. Is that her name? Enid?
Yeah.
The blonde one with the blonde one.
Yep, that's the one. Plays the daughter, and Brady Noon, who he's been in some things. He's like in Good Boys, and he actually just voiced Raphael in the newest Ninja Turtles animated movie. Anyway, so naturally it's like the father and the son switch, and the mother and the daughter switch, and then there's a baby and a dog, and the baby and the dog switch, and that's a whole bit in the movie too that's really dumb. But this happens, of course, right before Christmas, and they've got to figure out each other, and it's all about the kids and parents learning more about each other and coming to terms with their family and what they thought they know about each other and what they, whatever. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's exactly, what is presented is it's as advertised, and some of the humor is pretty silly. It is definitely a streaming holiday movie that I watched, and it's super disposable, and I'll never watch it again. But I watched it, and it's here on my list.
Drew
so here
is
we
being
are talking about it.
Super nice. I turned this on, started watching it, was watching it for a fair little bit, said, "Hey Drew, do I have to watch this?" And he said, "No, you can stop." And I said, "Oh, thank God." This movie is so bad. I don't turn movies off. I'll watch something. I'll finish it just because, like, for the most part, this was irredeemable. It was so bad. The acting is terrible. I don't know about Enid was fine. The bit I saw her, the son, terrible acting. It was awful. I don't know. Maybe it was the script. Even Ed Helms and Jennifer Garner, super cringy. A lot of the extras, I don't know, man. There's some really bad acting. The premise is stupid.
It's the type of comedy where there's a sequence in this movie where Jennifer Garner, who is an architect, I believe, and she and her daughter have swapped bodies, so she has to give this big presentation for her job, but it's the daughter in her body. So the daughter is supposed to be giving this presentation to a bunch of architect bigwigs. And prior to giving the presentation, the daughter in her mom's body eats a bunch of ice cream as a soothing, calming
previously
mechanism.
They established that ice cream makes mommy gassy.
Mommy is extremely lactose intolerant, so it becomes a big old toot fest.
They're doing a fart scene.
They did a whole fart scene. Jennifer Garner did a fart scene.
Oh yeah, she does. That's in this movie. I will say this, and John's not gonna believe me, but this is not the first Netflix Christmas movie, directed Netflix movie I've seen, even this year, and this one is better than some of the absolute bottom of the dumpster garbage that gets put on this platform. At least there's some notable actors and whatnot in this movie.
You
But yeah,
heard it
it's not
here,
good.
folks. The
Not
family
good.
switch better than a mouthful of diarrhea.
Yes. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Go with that.
High praise from
You guys
Drew
imagine?
Funhouse.
You remember the Hollywood Video Blockbuster days? You're in there, you see this movie, you turn it over, look at the back of the case, and that's what it says down at the bottom. Fresh out the box. Says
I would tie
family
this
switch better than a mouthful of diarrhea.
fresh out the podcast. Yeah, I would tie this video to a break and throw through Hollywood Video's window.
I also
yeah.
was distracted by I'm not to be ageist here or to judge, but in this movie, the family, they have like a son that has to be less than 2 years old, right?
And both the parents are like
Jennifer-
60. Yeah.
Yeah, they're both in their 50s or almost in their 50s, and they have like a 2-year-old son. Like, okay, all right, well,
Bro, they
more power to you.
Bro. They adopt. They got money to make their kid's life to change.
Oh,
their kid's life.
but Gary, when the baby and the dog switch bodies, the baby then drinks water out of a bowl on the ground, and the dog
Spoiler.
walks on 2 legs. Pretty good. This is good comedy right here.
Spoiler alert.
Get to the
my
next
dog
one
walks.
already, because this one looked even worse.
Wait,
So
wait.
this is-
Hold on. One more. Does the baby? Is he a baby? Does the baby walk on 2 legs? Or is he like a baby?
when they
baby?
switch?
No, like is he a baby
before
baby?
they switch. Yeah, he's like a toddler. He's a baby. I mean, big enough to kind of walk and stumble around, take steps, but like
So it doesn't
not
make
to
sense
talk,
that the
it's-
dog can walk
not really, especially
doesn't
not
make
as
sense
well
at
as
all,
the
because
dog
the-
walks.
because the baby can't even barely walk.
But then the baby gets
So
the
he became a
zoomies and
dog
runs
and he
around the
got
room and
better.
starts scooching his butt on the ground. That happens.
He became a dog and got better at walking on 2 legs.
Yes.
That's
I feel like
that
a
movie
dog.
sounds really good.
I feel like a dog might actually be better walking in 2 legs than a baby. I don't know.
But it is the baby, and then he becomes a dog, and then he's like, now I figured it out. Now I can walk on 2 legs. That's not a thing.
That's
and-
fair.
I'll move on
And
to
that
the
alone
next.
is 10.
I
that
want to
alone
get
is
really
definitely
into the
a
weeds.
10 out of 10.
with this.
Man, I wish we could just have an hour and a half on Family Switch.
I'll do it.
No. Next
cuts.
on Prime Video, there's a new Eddie Murphy holiday movie called Candy Cane Lane that is now out on Amazon Prime Video. And Eddie Murphy, I just have kind of a fascination with, just in the sense of huge star in the 80s and 90s and even 2000s. Somebody that I grew up with watching a lot of Eddie Murphy comedies. He went through a phase where he was having at least 1 or 2 comedies every year, some which were okay, some were really terrible. But we could rely on a new Eddie Murphy comedy every year until the early 2010s, when he kind of took a hiatus and disappeared for a little bit, and then made a return in 2019 with Dolomite Is My Name, and then he's had a few more consistent movies. This feels like kind of your more old school Eddie Murphy style comedy, in the vein of like your Pluto Nash movies, and when those kinds of things were coming out, but it's a family friendly holiday movie. The
So
problem
you're
with this
talking
movie,
about the Eddie Murphy Miss era.
yeah, and this one's like, I'd say it's probably a little bit of a miss, but it's okay. It's better than Family Switch. The problem with Candy Cane Lane is that it's trying to be like 3 different Christmas movies in one, because it has the, we're at war with our neighbors trying to win the competition of having the best Christmas lights, but then that evolves into them buying like this giant tree. It's a whole convoluted thing in the plot involving like one of Santa's discarded elves, and it's a whole thing. I'm gonna sound like a crazy person describing this movie. But he gets a giant tree that he puts in his yard, that essentially unleashes the 12 days of Christmas. And the movie kind of takes a turn and becomes an almost Jumanji-esque Christmas movie, where like the 12, the 8 geese a laying are out flying and shooting eggs at people, and the 2 turtle doves keep calling and on his phone.
Are they prank calling? Are they prank calling?
And there's the 10 Lords of Leaping are leaping all over the school football field, and the drummers drumming are, in a parade in the and all these things, and they all have rings, have golden rings that they have to try to collect, and or else, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing, and the whole Jumanji concept of it, I thought was. The whole Jumanji concept of it, I thought was interesting and could have made a good Christmas movie, but they introduce it late enough into the movie that they'd have to resolve it super quickly, and it's just it's kind of a mess of a movie. But there's some fun-ish Christmas stuff in it, and if you like Eddie Murphy, maybe check it out. But it's not going to be a holiday classic you revisit from year to year. But there's some interesting ideas. I just don't think it capitalizes on any of them particularly well, but at least they all look like they're having fun in it.
I like part of what you said. I think the repeating the 12 Days of Christmas song, I think that would be great in like a Groundhog Day movie, like a Christmas Groundhog Day movie where each day a different thing was going on and he just knew he had to get to the end of it. I think that could be a lot of fun, but maybe not with Eddie Murphy.
Now, are you not an Eddie Murphy fan?
So I can say that, I probably was an Eddie Murphy fan at some point in my life. But, yeah, I mean, not so much.
He'll never top Donkey.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of who he was in our generation. I know that he was a stand-up comedian in the 80s, and I've watched his old stuff, and I know that he was a movie star in the 90s. But then by our generation, sort of the 2000s, he was the voice. He's the voice of Donkey, and then he kind of retired, like you said. He kind of went away and came back with the big hit, Dolomite Is My Name, and that was kind of like, anybody can do like an indie film. I'm cool with that. But then he's back to doing cash grab stuff, which I guess get your money. I'm not mad at him for that. He's just would be more entertaining if he, when he came back with Dolomite, I thought he might come back around as a serious actor and go for the Oscar chase. But instead he went back into hacky crap.
And the thing that stinks is that Dolomite Is My Name, like you said, like in any other year, he probably could have been nominated for Best Actor for that movie. He was really good in it, but I can't even remember which year it was or who all was nominated, but I do remember it was a particularly busy year. Like, I want to say that was the same year that Adam Sandler was in Uncut Gems and was really great. And like, I was kind of hoping he'd be in the race. And so you had these big comedians in serious roles, but they just couldn't break through the other nominees. An interesting thing about Eddie Murphy with his return in 2019 with Dolomite Is My Name, straight to Netflix. Coming to America, the sequel, Prime Video. You People on Netflix. Candy Cane Lane, Prime Video. So all of his movies since his return have all been straight to streaming. His next movie is apparently a new Beverly Hills Cop movie, which is set to be released on Netflix. So there you go.
That's actually kind of exciting.
Reinhold. Judge Reinhold's finally going to get that paycheck.
Oh yeah, he is in it. There you go.
That's kind of I was going to say Beverly Hills Cop is one of the better things that I've seen, and then Shrek. Those are my two favorite things from Eddie Murphy.
You did not like his Nutty Professor, Dr. Dolittle?
I remember Nutty Professor. That's not good.
I hated Nutty Professor, and Dr. Dolittle was actually okay. Didn't you recently...
Not Dr. Dolittle.
Didn't they recently, wasn't there another attempt at a Dr. Dolittle that you suffered through and said was just absolutely terrible, Drew?
Yeah, with Robert Downey Jr. It's really bad. Yeah. Really bad.
See, like, compared to that, I'll take Eddie Murphy's Dr. Dolittle. And, if they put some money into it and actually had a decent script instead of doing what they did for Dr. Dolittle, that might be a movie I would watch Eddie Murphy.
The first Dr. Dolittle is not that bad. That's fair. But yeah, Beverly Hills Cop
was a product of its time. It was just making fun of fat people. You could just do that, and that's all it was just making... It was just... a whole movie of fat jokes, and none of them were particularly funny.
No. But yeah, the Beverly Hills Cop franchise coming back, that's actually kind of exciting. Because, I mean, at least those were good. So, I mean, I can take it or leave it, but more hopeful
Which
than
one's your
Candy Cane Lane.
quick aside? Which one's your favorite one? The one in the theme park. All right, I'm back.
I mean, I always like a theme park, so that's yeah. But I remember the other one better with like the shipping fiasco and all that stuff. It's good stuff.
So I've only got one other movie to talk about, and this one's kind of a weird one to talk about.
It is a weird one to talk about, Drew.
Are you aware of this movie, John?
I looked it up
You
because
asked
I was
about
seeing
it.
if I could watch it anywhere, but it's not out yet. Or
No, it's not. It's not. It'll get wide released in theaters here in the next couple weeks. It's a A24 release called The Zone of Interest, directed by Jonathan Glazer. This movie, this actually is kind of like a mini Drew's Oscar corner because it'd be the only movie to talk about this week in it. This movie's kind of on the fringe of potentially getting a Best Picture nom. It'll be interesting to see if it does later in the award season or if it raises it all in the ranks. It's for sure going to make a run at the Best Foreign Feature nomination. So this is Jonathan Glazer, kind of a really interesting director. The last movie he did came out almost 10 years ago with Scarlett Johansson called Under the Skin. I don't know if y'all have heard of that, where she's like an alien kind of man-eater movie. It's really interesting concept. And The Zone of Interest is about a Nazi family during World War II. A Nazi officer who his family moves essentially to like their dream home, and it's all about their life and living their life, and they live directly outside of the concentration camp at Auschwitz.
that's like
And so-
literally the plot of The Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Yeah, so the
It's weird.
the movie is interesting because it basically shows how these people can live at their home, go through the normal mundane strokes of life and without a care in the world, when true horrors are literally happening just over the wall of their house. Literally the wall that surrounds Auschwitz is part of their backyard, and they are like putting plants against it and growing ivy and things to like decorate and things, and the entire movie is underscored with gunshots and screaming and things that are all happening in the distance, but you never actually see anything within the concentration camp. It's just you as the audience know what's going on, and it's
Oh,
horrifying.
that is super interesting. Holy crap.
Or they have this beautiful house, and it's like, the men are at work and the women are chatting, the kids are playing outside, and the camera pans out, or you get a wide shot of the house and you just see the plumes of smoke coming out from the camp, and it's just like really harrowing, really dark, but it's very powerful. It's a hard movie to recommend to people for exactly that reason. It's going to be the type of movie that critics are really positive on and hype up because it's going to be big in the awards season, and it's really, really well made and well executed, but it is a hard film to recommend to your normal everyday theater goer.
That sounds like it reminds me of The Kid in the Striped Pajamas, which was very great
that's
and also kind of horrible.
that's what I said too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw an interesting review that just kind of said, as you watch this movie and you just kind of get used to their mundane life, you almost become complacent watching it, which is like becomes even more horrifying.
That's the point. That's the point of it all.
Yeah, you're not
So,
supposed to like it, but you are supposed to watch it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's very well made, it's very powerful, so it's well done. But it's not the type of movie where you go, "That was great, you should go see it." No, not that, not for the faint of heart, but very powerful. And
Did you
it'll
cry?
be interesting to see. Oh yes, I did.
Because that boy in the striped pajamas definitely made me cry. So I'm wondering if this is there. But yeah, which one's better? That's my closest analog.
Ooh, I don't know.
Stuff.
And again,
feels-
how are you supposed to be like, which one's better?
Yeah, right. It
fair.
feels like you probably should watch them. If you like one, it sounds like you should watch them both.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's just an interesting point of view and way to tell this story, but definitely very harrowing and well made. So that is The Zone of Interest. I think it's released wide in theaters in like another week or two. I should know this, but I don't. But yeah, so Zone of Interest, and that's it for movies of the week.
Speaking of genocide, our fresh TV picks of the week open up with Invincible.
Which again, I talked about last week because I was getting caught up, and I've finished season 1. I've watched the first episode of season 2. So I think have there been 4 episodes of season 2?
Yes. When you finished season 1, my response was, "What happened?" Just because I remember at the end of that show just being like, "Holy crap!" And I thought what happened was just such a great response. How did you feel after it?
I felt... I mean, that's a good question.
You didn't have to sit with it quite as long as we did. We had to sit with it.
I was able to jump in pretty much immediately into season 2, which was nice. I knew some things just through pop culture osmosis, as I've said. Like, I knew going into... Obviously, you find out early on that Omni-Man is not the greatest guy based on what he does to the Guardians at the end of the first episode. Yeah. So I did have the, what's going to happen leading up to this, but I just knew that there were very big action scenes and blood and gore and that final fight at the end of season 1 between Omni-Man and Invincible is really crazy, and the whole Chicago massacre of what happens there is pretty crazy. And I didn't think that the show was going to go there with like the true emotional toll on Invincible and whatnot. So I enjoy that part of it. The
thing he does with the train when he puts Invincible through the train, that's one of his finishers in Mortal Kombat.
Nice. That's a great fatality. Oh, man.
It's the only fatality that kills like 300 people instead of 1.
Yeah.
And then we talked when I was catching up on season 1, we were talking about how good the voice cast is, and then now in season 2, you're adding Sterling K. Brown as a major character, and all this. So I thought the first episode was really good, and I'm interested to see more. And you both said neither of you watched the Adam Eve origin episode yet, right? Or you have watched it now, Gary?
Gary did.
I definitely watched it.
I am going to.
So okay. I hated her parents, like, as characters. They're like fingernails on a chalkboard. So I didn't want to watch an episode that I knew had more of those characters. But they're only in it for maybe like 2 minutes of the entire 40-minute thing. So they're in it less than usual, actually. And I very much liked the Adam Eve origin episode. It was really cool. It's not what I was expecting at all.
The completionist in me wanted to watch it before starting season 2 of Invincible, but I was so eager to at least see what the first episode of season 2 was before we podcasted, so I could at least be, hopefully make it a little bit easier for you guys to be able to talk about it too without having to tiptoe around it for me. So I skipped the Adam Eve episode, but I plan to revisit it once I get caught up on season 2.
Yeah, so now that you've watched it, me and Gary have said a lot about this show. I've been saying that it's one of the best pieces of superhero media, period. Gary agrees with that, I believe. So
100%.
Where does it sit for you? How do you feel about it? Yeah, did we overhype it? Do you feel like it was appropriate? Where you stand?
I don't think it was overhyped. I think it's really good. It did a really good job. This is going to be kind of a weird comparison, but just bear with me here. The Mandalorian season 1.
Okay.
If you remember when it started, it had like this really powerful first episode that ended with the whole Baby Yoda thing. And there was like a little bit of a continuation of that. And then there was a bit of a stretch of Mandalorian season 1 that was a little bit like, here's your villain of the week. Here's your story of the week, that didn't seem like it tied into the overall thing. But then there was this really great finale of season 1 that kind of incorporated everything from season 1 of Mando into that finale. And it made it all worthwhile. And I thought that first season of Mandalorian was really strong for that. Invincible kind of gets into that territory too, where there's a few episodes in the middle of the first season where like, oh, he's going to Mars and doing this mission. Oh, now he's on this college campus and there's this bad guy creating like crazy robot zombies. And oh, now he's doing this. And you kind of have like a villain of the week-esque thing with this overall narrative. And once again, all those things were kind of brought full circle in the finale of Invincible, but probably even executed even better than something like The Mandalorian. It was just kind of a comparison I had in my mind. And so I thought it was a really, really strong season of TV that I flew through.
I would also like to say that some of the stuff continues to come back. Some of the stuff that hasn't seen light yet comes in season 2, and they are really good about keeping everything sort of relevant.
Yeah, it seems like everything that Invincible touches, it stays a plot point. It doesn't go away. It isn't solved. He doesn't wipe his hands of it. He just thinks that it is solved, and it is solved in his mind. And there's always like a trick to it. There's always something else. There's always something more going on where his story can come back, and you're like, oh, damn, I remember that. That's related to when they did the thing. And there's a lot of that through the writing. And the only way you get that is by having those setup episodes that kind of feel like filler. You're wondering, what? Okay, he goes to Mars, so what? Well, it's so that you can introduce a character in the second season. That's so what? It's stuff like that. They always keep once you touch the plot, it goes into the deck of cards, and it will come back again to haunt him. And I really love that style of writing.
Yeah, pretty much everything that isn't focused on is festering in the background. So it's like he really just lets things go, and he shouldn't. And it's very classic superhero of him to be like that. Very tunnel visioned.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done, and it set up a really great base story that you can just continue expanding upon and really raise the stakes for season 2, which that makes a good show for me. So I'm excited to continue getting caught up.
How do you like the Maulers?
Again,
I like the
an interesting thing where I thought they were going to be limited to just the first episode, like kind of introducing the show, and then they kind of recur throughout season 1 and end up being pretty instrumental. And now they seem super important for season 2. So just very unexpected. And I do like those characters.
Maulers, they're so great.
So funny.
They're so great. No, you're stupid because you're the clone. Yeah, it's so fun. It's such a fun bit to constantly be.
They very much scream like a Gary D&D-esque character. Like I feel like I could play a D&D campaign with Gary, who would create characters similar to the Maulers.
Oh, I love the Maulers. They're so fantastic. I would love to be. Just that is great praise, Drew. I appreciate it. They're some of my favorite characters in the series, followed by the Demon Investigator. He's my other favorite character.
He's one of mine too. Yeah, I love the Demon Investigator very much. Yeah, well, glad you're on the Invincible train. And I look forward to talking about the whole season in retrospect once it ends. So
And then we can just always talk about the series now, whenever, because Drew's seen it. We don't have to worry about spoilers anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I guess we'll move on. I know you guys are big fans of reality television. I've been watching a little bit of the new Netflix Squid Games reality show. I know that they did a Squid Games show somewhere in Asia, and it got a lot of backlash because people were getting really, really hurt during it. This one is an English version, and yeah, it's kind of interesting. They have to stay on the premises just like in the show. Like they sleep in that room with all the beds, which is really weird to me. But I feel like they're probably not locked in to limited bathroom breaks like they are in the show. But yeah, they're all there. They're all in their jumpsuits. They have to compete in the games. They get like power ups to be able to vote each other out, like in secret, and like give each other advantages. They've done some pretty no nonsense kind of stuff where people are just getting out.
With you.
Yeah.
So far, this sounds absolutely dope. Go on.
It's not bad. Yeah, so it's not bad. I'm not a big reality
hearing
TV
about
person.
the production though, and like people like actually got hurt. There were like a lot of, I think there were production woes with the show.
I think this was the other Squid Games because they've done it before. I'm not sure if it was this one. This one I think has been fine because they haven't really seemed like they've done a lot of dangerous stuff. It's pretty cool. They did the red light green light game with the talking girl, doing the Korean nursery rhyme, and it was just like in the show, exactly. And like I was trying to figure out how they were shooting the people, like pinpoint accuracy, and I was like, oh, they're wearing squibs under their shirts, so like it would go pop and they fall down, and like they're really hamming it up too. They're like pretending like they're dead and they don't move until like They really play into it, and so it's pretty fun. There's a lot of player versus player survival style kind of politics going on. People forming, what do you call them? Unions? No. Alliances. People forming alliances and betrayal and all that good stuff. And then, they've also made the games kind of a little more unpredictable. It's not exactly like the show. They switch some things up a bit. Like with the cookie thing where they have to get the shape out. They made people pick what shape their line had to do. And obviously no one wants to get the umbrella. But if the people that were deciding couldn't come to a consensus, all of them were out in 2 minutes. They were all out of the game completely. And so, it was really high stakes. It's pretty fun. I feel like people cry a little too much. It's not that serious. Calm down, guys. But, at the end of the day, the money goes in the big bubble above the room, and it's pretty cool so far. So if you like reality television, I'd say give Squid Games a shot. It's not bad.
Yeah, I've heard good things. I want to check this out. I've been watching Invincible, so I haven't been watching other shows.
Yeah, I've been rewatching Angel and Buffy, so I've been having trouble watching other shows, but I've been trying to make more of an effort to watch stuff.
I am excited to hear what you thought about Monarch, though. Oh, sorry,
I'm going to
Gary,
get back into Netflix soon. No, don't worry about it. Netflix is next on my list, and it's probably going to happen pretty soon.
Oh, that's right. You're not a Netflix subscriber at the current moment, huh?
No, right now I'm doing Prime and Peacock and something else.
I have a few Netflix shows today, so hopefully you'll be able to watch them soon.
At least you can go check out Candy Cane Lane.
Paramount Plus had a really good deal for Black Friday. It was $2 a month for the next 6 months, and you get Showtime for an extra $1 or something. Not bad. So I got that. That's where I'm at. And Netflix is on my list, and
damn,
Prime
I would have done that. I would have done that deal. Next up, I watched the first 2 episodes of Monarch, like I said with my mom, on Apple TV. So Monarch, obviously we talked about it a little bit. It is the organization that studies the kaiju in the Godzilla universe. It has an interesting cast. I recognized the two guys that are some of the founders of Monarch or whatever. One of them is from Workaholics. The other one is the Patriot from Captain.
It's U.S. Agent.
Yeah, U.S. Agent from Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show. So they're 2 of the main characters. The show has a lot to do with Japan too, which is cool that they keep it. I hate it when they don't focus on Japan and Godzilla properties because this is a Japanese IP. Pay homage at least. But so far, so good. It's not bad. It's not my favorite thing I've seen. I'm not completely hooked yet. I've only seen 2 episodes. We just saw a big monster for, I guess, the second time. You see Godzilla pretty early on in flashbacks. Godzilla looks good. The Godzilla scene, the bridge destruction in the beginning, looks good. The second kaiju, I saw a winged kaiju flying around, did not look the best, in my opinion, when it comes to CGI. But hey, special effects does not a good show make. Not necessarily. It's not always necessary. The story's interesting. There's some spy crafty stuff. This is one of those situations where I feel like they're getting a little bit too into the human side of the story, but this is about the organization, I suppose. Makes sense.
The human side of it gets better when you get more Kurt Russell. And I believe
Kurt Russell just got introduced.
It's right. Durs. I was wondering which guy from Workaholics it was. I went ahead and looked it up. It's Durs.
It's the tall one. Yeah, the tall, lanky guy. And honestly, he's not bad. He's got some acting chops, man. He's a solid actor, and so is the guy that plays U.S. Agent. He's pretty good.
That's Wyatt Russell. It's Kurt Russell's son. So
that's just straight up his son. That's awesome.
Yeah. They play the same character in the past and in the present. And their father and son in real life.
That's pretty cool. I see the resemblance now. Yeah. I was like, man, they cast him really good. It does look like him when he was... Okay, that's fair. I feel dumb now. But,
They do, when you know that, they like watch the credits and how they put Wyatt Russell's name and Kurt Russell's, it like morphs from one to the other. They really play it up, and they do, I think, starting in episode 3, now that Kurt Russell's character's been introduced, they'll do a lot of like fade in from his eyes to like fading to the past, and it's his son's eyes, and like really playing up how their similar features.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, Kurt Russell really went all in for that special effect, I feel. He created a human life. But yeah, so it's not bad. There's a lot of like cloak and daggery, like secret organization stuff going on, which I dig. The characters I like so far. The characters, I like the teacher. I like the dickhead that has 2 families. You know, I like it's all interesting. It's all pretty cool. A lot of the acting is very good. So that goes a long way. So far, episode 2, I like it. I'm not hooked yet. I'll keep you updated.
Rock on.
I'm not sure. Have I talked about the new Rick and Morty season yet?
No, you have not.
Okay, so finally, new Rick and Morty's out. Justin Roiland's gone. They have 2 people, one person playing Rick, one person playing Morty. Honestly, I can't hear the difference. Some people claim they can. I can't hear it. They sound the same to me. This season, I feel, doesn't start out the strongest, but not terrible. And eventually, it gets really good. I really enjoy some of these episodes. The Spaghetti Suicide episode is probably one of my favorite Rick and Morty episodes, period. And then they just had one where Summer was really like center square. And she's probably my favorite Rick and Morty character. So it was a really good episode for me. I like it. If you like Rick and Morty, they're still doing it. There's still some really good plot points. They're developing their greater story still. And I feel like they're really edging out a lot of rough edges. Things are getting a little cleaner. The vision's a little more clear. And I just watched the clip show. You know how they have one every episode, every season or whatever. They have like Morty's Mind Blowers. I saw that one, and I was dying. And it's not just me. I watched this with my brothers, and they thought it was funny too. So don't just take my word for it. You know, this is a Navisi boy recommendation. Thumbs up. I'll talk about this one briefly. Scott Pilgrim. I watched the first episode on Netflix of the animated show. I heard that it was like a shot-for-shot remake of the movie almost. It's not. There's a lot of difference. It's whoever said that is very wrong and probably needs to go watch the movie again.
That's what I said last week, because there's a big turn at the end of the first episode.
Yeah,
totally goes off.
There's some big turns. And even before that, there's just a lot of subtle nuance. There's a lot of scenes that weren't in any of the other previous materials. Honestly, I like Scott's character better as an animated character. I really enjoy that all the voice acting came back. If you like Scott Pilgrim, check this out. It is solid. And then I guess this is my last thing. I'll probably talk about some of the other stuff that Gary has, because I've also seen some of it. But this one, I watched it because I heard like that it's getting like perfect reviews.
Talking about this, man, this keeps coming up in my life.
What? Blue-Eyed Samurai? So
yeah,
I'm hearing things about it. I'm hearing that it's like got perfect scores and like people, it's like critically acclaimed. People really like it. People aren't watching it though. And so I was like, let me see what the fuss is about. This is a Netflix animated samurai show called Blue-Eyed Samurai. It is about a samurai that is of mixed ethnicity during a time in Japan where there are no foreigners. Japan is closed off to the outside world. At some point during the show, they mentioned there's only like 4 white people in the entire country. And one of them apparently fathered this samurai. The samurai has blue eyes, revealing to the world that they are of impure mixed blood, which is like a big thing back then. And they're hated for it. And they are scorned, beaten, until they find purpose and are raised out of obscurity by a blind blacksmith who doesn't know what color their eyes are. This is a solid so anime gets really high fantasy and stuff. This is not anime in that sense. And it's not anime in style either. This is there's a very artistic animation style here. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like the Dragon Prince, but that animation I didn't really enjoy much. It was too kind of janky for me. It wasn't as smooth as I wanted. This is very smooth, and some of the scenes are some of the most beautiful artistic animated scenes I've seen in a long time. Like it's a very
Thomas nailed that years ago when Dragon Prince first came out, and then season 2 came out. He was like, "Oh, they have made leaps and bounds from season 1 to 2 what they're doing with their animation."
Oh, okay.
So he could tell it was starting to get funded and that Netflix was going that way, and there was something there for sure. So it's good to see that it's come to fruition, or is still maybe even still building. But that's awesome.
This show
the style doesn't suck, but sometimes it's like it takes you out of it because it's not the style of the show. Yeah. And they're getting better and better at blending that.
This show uses this style perfectly, and it is pure art. This animation is art. It's beautiful. So check it out just for that. But as far as story goes, it is a straight up gritty, no fantasy. So far, there hasn't been any magic or anything crazy. Just straight up samurai show.
Was Samurai Champloo, did it have any fantasy? It was also just a samurai
It was also
show,
it's very much in the vein of Samurai Champloo. If you liked that, you'll probably love this. It is a revenge story. It is gritty. It's got that whole old school samurai movie vibe with the showdowns and the I don't know, man. It's really good. The fight scenes are beautiful. Check it out. I 100% recommend this show. Certified Fresh. Love it. I've only watched one episode. They're about an hour long. There's 8 episodes.
Damn.
And I'm going to finish them because it's really good. I can't wait to watch more. Blue-Eyed Samurai, Netflix.
I have been on the Prime machine. I told you guys I've been priming it up. I've been painting miniatures too, so I've had stuff on in between. And let's just start with The Curse. Drew, The Curse was the new Nathan project. You said I might want to check it out with Nathan Emma Stone. I don't know about it. At first, I hated it. If I would have just watched the first episode, I don't think I would have kept watching it. But I watched 2, and the second one was better, I guess. The entire show is sort of an anti-comedy, which to me is funny, but it's not funny. There's nothing funny. There's nothing funny about the show. They are just horrible white people gentrifying a neighborhood, and they think that they're not doing it.
That's kind of funny.
It's hilarious. It's an anti-comedy. There's nothing funny about it. It's depressing, and it's just awful. It's horrible. But I watched 3 episodes, and I'll probably keep watching it just because I like Nathan, and I think I get it. I think I get what he's doing. I think I get it. But maybe there's something out of left field. You never know what he's going to do.
You didn't like the small penises in the first episode?
Man, so the second season of Lil Dicky's show, Dave, and the third season, it's all about his weird dick and his small dick and his dick and his dick and his dick. So when Nathan did it, I was just like, ugh, bro, this is not only was it not funny, now it's not funny and it's being done to death. Just no, I didn't. The little dick didn't do anything for me. The little tiny penis didn't do me any favors.
Okay, all right.
Vox Machina season 2. I guess I never finished it. Seems like I just dumped off in the middle of it. It's great for painting miniatures in the background, but boy, does this show sound like it's written by 14-year-olds sometimes. Just the language takes me out of it. I mean, they're just F-bomb, shit this, F that, shit this. And it's like, guys, can you just please clean up this dialogue? That's the hardest part of the show, is listening to them curse. It makes it seem like they're not in a fantasy world. It makes them just, it's not great. The show otherwise is cool. Animation's great. Story was cool. It was cool when Matt Mercer wrote it the first time. It's still cool the second time. Just tune it down with the language.
I like season 2. Cool. Yeah, they probably curse a bit. It's not even that they curse too much. They wield it badly. It's very immature the way they curse. But yeah, I guess it doesn't destroy it as much for me because,
It
like,
distracts me so much, but again, that's probably because I'm painting, right? So I'm listening to most of it instead of staring at it.
no.
And so if I was looking at it, I could probably have the volume a little bit lower and it wouldn't be as distracting. But instead, it's loud and I'm looking away and I'm just like, guys, come on.
I like it because it's like it does feel like you're at a D&D table because people do talk like that when they're playing games. And that's why I don't mind it because, like, it's kind of part of the vibe, but I get it. You're not wrong. It could be better.
It up a little bit. That's all I'm asking.
Grow up a little. Yeah. I feel
yeah.
you, man. I feel you.
Just a little bit. And I'm not saying don't say the F word. I'm saying use it. Just reel it in a little bit.
Reel in a bit, yeah. It starts to lose meaning when you say it all the time.
So we were trying to Reacher season 1. I was waiting for Annie so I could watch something else, and I was like, oh, I also didn't finish Reacher season 1. And I put it back on, and boy, that show is for dads. That's for, like, your dad.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Not even, like, our age dads, but, like, you know, our dads. It's that show is for, like, a dad's dad at this point.
Yeah, it's for grandpas. Yeah.
Yeah, this
That's what
is
they're called, grandpas, Gary.
This is Grandpa's show. Wait, that's what that's called? I don't have one.
We plays grandpa's guitars.
This is Grandpa's show. This is Grandpa's guitar. Yeah, Reacher is Grandpa's show. Look, I mean, it's just Grandpa's show, bro. Come at me.
This is
actually,
my dad watches this stuff, so it's really funny.
I like the guy who plays Reacher, but it's just Grandpa's show. That's all. I don't recommend it. It's not particularly fresh.
Nice.
Last thing I've been watching, Star Trek Lower Decks. I actually do recommend that. I've recommended it before in the past. I recommend it again now. When I recommended it, there was 1 season. Now there are 4. I haven't watched all 4. I don't know if it falls off, but for the most part, the stories, if you're a Star Trek fan, I think you'll especially find something to love. I am an Orville fan. I didn't like Star Trek much growing up, but I really loved Orville, which is just a Star Trek copycat with comedy. So there's something for me in Star Trek that I really like, something there for me, something about the different colors that they wear, that their uniforms and the different decks and the ranks. There's something really cool. I just haven't seen a Star Trek series that I like, if that makes sense.
Fair enough.
Lore in this is great. They stick to their lore. They make all kinds of really funny lore-related jokes, like, if you die, how could you come back? And then they'll rattle off, like, 25 different ways that characters came back from death in all the different series. So it's a lot of Star Trek jokes, and they are the lower deck crew, so no one really pays much attention to them, and they don't really get to go on the big missions. They're not part of the decision-making. They just always kind of get tied up in their own crap, or piss somebody off and get sent on a side mission. So I actually really like Star Trek Lower Decks, and if you like the Orville, I think you also might like Star Trek Lower Decks. If you're a Trekkie, I think you might like it.
Before we move on to fresh games really quick, I just wanted to say, Gary, because you were reminding me of this, talking about how you're currently subscribing to Prime Video and like Reacher and Vox Machina, and then been talking about Invincible and watching a lot of Prime Video. I've been watching more Prime Video in the past week or so than I have in a long time, probably since The Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power came out, because that's probably the last Prime show I really watched. And that being said, I'm a big Apple TV guy. Like, I have multiple Apple TVs in my house, and I really like that device from a user experience standpoint and how they consolidate all your apps, but also, like, if you're even on your Xbox, if you're in the Apple TV app, they have it set up really well where it's like, here's your Apple TV tab, and these are all or Apple TV Plus tab, I should say, and all things that are on Apple TV Plus. And then here's your, like, Watch Now tab that has, like, things catered to you that may be Apple TV Plus or maybe from the store. And when you go to the store page, it's like all your movies and TV shows, regardless of, theatrical release, whatever, that you can purchase and buy that are not Apple products, right? And it's very clean and they have it separated correctly. When I'm using Prime Video, that app bugs me so much because it's just like they took everything and threw it at the wall.
It's not a good app, no.
you log in and it'll be like the first thing that comes up is like Oppenheimer, but it's not on the service. You'd have to buy it. And they have all of their Prime Video stuff and all of their store stuff, and even shows that are on other apps that they want you to subscribe to through Prime channels, all in the same place. And I find their app to just be...
episode. You can buy the rest of it. You can subscribe. You can spend $10.
Yeah,
get your item
clickbait.
Out of my face. It is clickbait.
It is. It's so convoluted. It's not clean. Like, I just want to see the stuff that's just on Prime Video, and I feel like there's not an easy way to do that. You have to like sift through all of the other new releases and things that you can buy, but they're not streaming on the service. Anyway, I digress. I just had to bring that up because I've been on Prime Video a lot more recently, and it bugs me a lot just how they have everything thrown into one big dirty clothes pile.
It's what happens when you let your marketing team design your user interface. It's not good.
Yep.
But that's all for Fresh TV of the week. Let's move on to our Fresh Games.
And my Fresh Game's super quick, just because I talked about it at length last week. The Mario RPG remake. I did beat it last week. Not long after we podcasted about it, I was able to beat it. And I just want to say, it's kind of cool when, over 20 years later, almost 30 years later, you get to revisit a game that you missed when you were younger and beat it and have a good experience. And Mario RPG is a really good game.
That's exactly why I like remakes, is because it gives you a chance to experience something you missed. I don't like it when they're like constant and they keep remaking stuff, blah, blah, blah. But like when it's something I missed...
Remaking games that came out, 3 to 4 years ago, as opposed to one like this that came out truly multiple decades ago that people may have missed. Yeah, if you're going to play Super Mario RPG or you're interested, this is the definitive version. I highly recommend it. And again, it does not feel like, there are a lot of purists who are like, no, play the original Super Nintendo one. That's the real one. And for me, playing this, like, it still feels like you're playing a Super Nintendo game, but with updated graphics, everything. It's very good. I recommend it. I really enjoyed it.
I am planning on buying it, and I look forward to reliving my childhood. I got a weird one this time. I got a board game on here. I got this. This is the last in a trilogy of board games from Sinister Fish Games. The trilogy goes Villagers, then Streets, and now Moon. These games are very fun. I know they're not...
That is not a logical progression.
It's not a logical progression.
Shut off the top of my head.
Honestly, kind of, if you look at it from like a timeline point of view, Villagers is like during the Black Plague, and then it's like modern day Streets, and then it's like future moon colonies, and kind of. But yeah, Moon might be my favorite game of theirs so far in this series. I liked it a lot. You take your hand of cards and you take a card, you play it, or you discard it for points, and then you pass it to your opponent. So you're all rotating your hands around and taking cards out of hands, trying to get the stuff that's best for you while maybe getting rid of stuff that's bad for your opponent. I liked it a lot. Very fun. I just wanted to throw that out there. Moon from Sinister Fish. And then I played a video game. Ooh. So I went back into the Steam sale a bit. The Steam sale happens this time every year. I got 2 games. I got one, I forget what it's called. It's like We Are Away or something. It's a co-op game that I need to play with somebody, kind of in the same vein of The Two of Us or whatever it was. It Takes Two. It looks really fun. I'm looking forward to playing that one. But the one I did play, Bolt Gun. Bolt Gun is sort of a Wolfenstein style, like retro graphics, first-person shooter game that takes place in the Warhammer 40k universe. I was surprised by the level of story in this. There's actually some story going on, some lore being put on you, and then there's some voice acting too, which I was surprised by. The combat is satisfying, bloody, and quick, and dirty, and just like hella action. You feel like a space marine. You feel super strong. You're going around with your chain sword and your bolt gun, and you are destroying people. It looks like the retro game, but like the graphic, it's just a style really, because the graphics are actually really good still. Like they look very three-dimensional. They're very clean, very polished looking for a 16-bit game or whatever. The gameplay is great. I would recommend this. It was on sale when I bought it. It's not a full price game anyways. I think this is a very fun game. So if you like Warhammer and you like Wolfenstein, this is for you. Very niche. It's a very niche person, but
I was super excited for Bolt Gun when I heard about it, and then when I realized it was a Wolfenstein graphics, Wolfenstein style game, I was just totally put back. Like, after how long have they been around now, Games Workshop? After 50, 60 years, you guys still can't release a decent video game?
They release decent video games.
They have Dawn of War, right?
They have Dawn of War, but they also have, Vermintide, Darktide.
Those are just now coming out.
Space Marine.
Those are like current things. It's taken them a long time to get on the map. They have a catalog of misses. I'm always on the lookout for Warhammer.
They have some old bad ones, yeah.
I'm always on the lookout for Warhammer games, and there's even a new RTS that just came out, and I'm pretty sure it's kind of not doing great. But that's Warhammer. They just have this huge history of misses. I would have loved for them to do something sort of like Halo, set in the Warhammer universe.
Oh, that'd be fun. I'd play that.
You're a space marine, so you're a badass, and that's the kind of style we're looking for. I would totally get with that, but the Wolfenstein's too much of a throwback for me.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but yeah, it's definitely, if you like retro games and Warhammer, this is a solid game for you. And if it's not your cup of tea, it's not. This isn't going to fix your view of retro games. It does, I will, however, say, it has modern controls. It's not clunky. Like it's very smooth. You can sprint, you can jump. You have multiple action buttons for grenades and this and that. So it's better in that sense. But yeah,
right.
Definitely, I recommend it. That's it for fresh games.
Let's talk about our fresh picks.
Yeah, it's fresh picks of the week now.
Let's talk about it. I've got something on my list.
Yeah, Gary, go first. I want to hear this.
It got your attention, Jahan. My pick this week is I'm pissed.
You're pissed.
I'm pissed.
Pissed.
Every Friday, Invincible is supposed to have a new episode.
Oh boy.
And there wasn't one. And I was like, was it because of the Thanksgiving? Is it because of the holiday? Is it because it come out Saturday? When does it? And I'm pissed. Because it doesn't come out until February at earliest.
Oh, they took a mid-season break?
They took a mid-season break, 4 episodes in, and it is my weekly show. It's my water cooler show. It's the one thing keeping me going back to Amazon Prime, It's not like Reacher is doing it. This is about to be gone. I'm about to get rid of Prime. Netflix is about to be back on the list so I can watch some of this cool stuff you guys are watching, like Squid Games and freaking Scott Pilgrim and Blue-Eyed Samurai, because I'm pissed. You can eat my whole ass right now, Amazon. They got my subscription because it's Christmas time, and I wanted to watch Invincible. And if they're going to pull Invincible for 2 months, I already ordered my Christmas presents. They can F right
I didn't
off
realize that they were holding these off. I'm reading about it now. Yeah, you're right. Oh, that's crazy.
I almost wonder,
I've got plenty of time to get caught up.
I almost wonder if that's a calculated move, to stop people from doing what you're doing.
Almost certainly is.
That's
and
busted.
Because of that, I'm going to do exactly what I'm doing.
That's busted.
We're going to pull the plug on Prime Video. We're going to go over to Netflix and watch some of this stuff so I can talk about it with you guys. But, Jahan, I'm looking forward to watching Blue-Eyed Samurai. I hope that's my pick next week. That's what I'm going to try to watch.
That brings us to my fresh pick this week, Blue-Eyed Samurai. Yeah, absolutely. 100% certified fresh. Check it out. It's a beautiful art piece. It's a wonderful samurai show. One of the better pieces of samurai media out there lately. I feel like there was a period of time where everything was samurais. This is fresh. This is fresh. This is new. This is they bring it back to some basics. it has the gravitas of like the former shows. It feels heavy, and it feels impactful. I like it a lot. Check it out.
And my fresh pick of the week is Godzilla -1. This was an easy pick, and this is again something that a week ago wasn't even on my radar, and then I ended up going to see this, and it's the best thing I've seen in a while. I really enjoyed this, and it was such a pleasant surprise. So yeah, without hesitation, Godzilla -1 is my fresh pick of the week.
Hell yeah, and that's all for today. I'm really excited about next week, though, because me and Drew get to talk about The Boy and the Heron. That's exciting. We're going to go watch it tomorrow. I'm super excited.
The Boy and the Heron looks pretty cool. I watched the trailer a few months ago, and I still remember parts of it in my head. I'm looking forward to this. When is the actual theatrical release?
This coming weekend.
Is it this weekend? I will probably be able to talk about it next week too.
Oh man, if you could, that would be so cool.
Yeah, I think Annie really wants to see it. It's not going to be hard to convince her to go. And we get paid Friday, so we'll have a little bit of Skrilla.
From the creators of Spirited Away and such. Super excited. Can't wait.
The dubbed version of it has a really, really great cast as well. The version, Jahan and I are seeing the subtitled version. So Jahan, I don't know if you knew.
We are? Cool. I like subtitles.
We are seeing the subbed version with the original Japanese voice cast, but I feel like you can't go wrong either way because the American voice cast is pretty stacked.
The voices in the Japanese
I'm trying to pull
version,
it up now.
Like, when I watched the trailer, I watched them both because I don't know why I did that. But I had heard Robert Pattinson was voicing the Heron, so I watched the trailer, and it was the Japanese one, and I was like, that's not Robert Pattinson. So then I watched when I found the American dubbed one. And yeah, I think you guys are actually going to like the Japanese one more, for what it's worth. The voices really seem, not that Robert Pattinson does a bad job, but they seem, the Japanese voices seem totally killer. Absolutely ace.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's Christian Bale, Dave Bautista, Gemma Chan, Willem Dafoe, Mark Hamill, Robert Pattinson, Florence Pugh. So yeah, pretty stacked.
It's a solid cast. I'll probably wind up seeing it both because I think I'm seeing it again with Janie at some point. So we'll see what we see. But yeah, subtitles will bother me at all. So I'm really excited for that next week. But yeah, that's been Fresh Out the Podcast. I've been the board game guru, game master extraordinaire, Jahananan.
It's me, Casualty CDG, co-host of Fresh Out the Box and Fresh Out the Podcast. Fresh Out the Box is where me and Jahan and some of our friends play tabletop role-playing games. We play different systems with different characters. We're just trying to have fun, man. Trying to stretch that imagination bone, trying to stretch that performer bone. So if you guys are ever just hanging out bored on a Thursday or Friday, tune into Fresh Out the Box. Just let it go on in the background. You can lurk. You don't have to watch it. Just give us the views. It's twitch.tv/Jahananan. Fresh Out the Box, YouTube. Other than that, we're Fresh Out the Podcast. Tell everybody to listen to us because we talk about stuff and people like stuff.
I'm Drew Munhausen. You can find me at Drew Munhausen on all the different social media platforms. And this has been episode 111. Oh, no, excuse me, 110. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. 110 of Fresh Out the Podcast.
Stay fresh.